You ever think you want to make some changes in your life and it just seems overwhelming, like it's too much? I want to talk to you about a study I was recently reading called the 2% rule. And it was talking about a study they did in the mall where they were interviewing people and asking them, what's better for your health, climbing the stairs or taking the escalator? And 100% said climbing the stairs, of course, right? But when they were observing them, they said of all the people that were going to the mall over the course of several weeks, about 2% would take the stairs, only 2%. And it started making me think about how to apply that to other parts of your life, okay? So I'm gonna share with you 4 areas I wanna discuss how you can improve using the 2% rule. But first, I wanna tell you where I'm at. I'm in Mongolia, in the Gobi Desert, and I was hiking about 4 in the morning, and I went out about 2 hours and I found this herd of 2-humped Bactrian camels. This is an endangered species. And they're out here feeding, and I'm over here by the sand dunes. Now, it's really cold. It's about 5 degrees, and I'm from California, LA, so I'm not prepared. In fact, this morning it was interesting. I was brushing my teeth, and I was cupping my hands to try to get some water to rinse my mouth, and my hands wouldn't fill up. And I said, what the heck? I kept looking, and I noticed my fingers were so cold and rigid, I couldn't force them together. My fingers were staying open. So anyway, let's talk about this 2% rule. Now, in terms of mental health, the easy thing to do is to engage in activities that the 98% do. So for example, social media, watching news, maybe watching some porn, watching violent movies. Those types of things are overly stimulating and they feel good when you're doing them. But I always remember back to when I first started working in hospitals, mental hospitals. And one of the things that the psychiatrists and my colleagues would always say is, don't turn the news on. Of course, if anybody wanted to watch it, they could, but typically they try to not put the news on. And we talk about it and I research it, and it's interesting. Like, there's a lot of studies that show that when people watch news every night, there's no more news in the old days. Like, they would say, oh, there's rain coming. Now they say there's a storm coming. A lot of it is sensationalized, and they talk about the worst possible things and politics, daily life, everything pretty much. And it's to cause fear in you so that you'll want more of it. You know, it overstimulates it. It overstimulates you, it causes a fight or flight response. Same thing with social media. They say fake or, unsavory news or posts on social media sites get about 7 times more views than things that are the truth. So people just so a lot of these big companies had learned how to profit into those human emotions to make more profit. But the net effect on you is it's gonna cause you to have more depression, more anxiety, more stress, more psychiatric symptoms. Now, if you're watching content that's violent or negative all the time, it's definitely gonna affect your outlook. It's normal, we're humans. You get affected. You know how they say birds of a feather flock together? Well, if you're watching a lot of negative stuff, you're gonna have negative views on things. So what are some alternatives you can use instead of that? Well, I closed down all of my social media sites a few years ago, actually. And the reason being was I noticed that a lot of the people that I work with and people that I admire, friends that are intelligent and very successful, they don't really use social media. They'll have accounts and maybe they'll spy on what's going on in other people's lives every once in a while, but generally I never would see them post anything. And I thought about it, it's basically because it's a very non-productive activity. You're not really gonna get anything out of the day. I have friends that go to work, come home, they spend 2-3 hours a night looking at social media sites, when instead they could be exercising, hanging out with friends. It just takes a big chunk out of people's lives, and it's growing and growing. The vast majority of Americans, the majority of their time outside of work is spent on social media instead of hanging out with family or activities that they like. So if you want to have social media, just try to limit it or just try to be a spy like some of my friends. What are some alternatives you can use? Well, read books, read newspapers, play chess, do puzzles, do crafts, hobbies, paint, sculpt, make YouTube videos, do some type of art activity. All those types of things are stimulating and they help develop your cognition. They make you smarter, they make you happier, they make you more engaged, they give you mental clarity. So for example, let's use TV. Let's say you watch a lot of TV. Like TV, a lot of people watch TV, right? You're not gonna stop watching TV, but if you're watching TV all the time and that's like your main activity, That's a passive activity. You're not really engaging your mind. You're just kind of staring out and you're not really thinking much. So it's not much mental exercise. Now remember, your brain has to be exercised every day, just like your muscles are. If you want to have big muscles, you go walk, you do go to the gym, you have better health. Same thing with your brain. If you're not engaging it, you're not doing activities, you're going to have mental decline. You're going to have more memory problems. You're not going to be as informed about things. Your critical thinking is going to decline. And of course, your stress, anxiety, depression, all those symptoms are going to get worse if you're engaging in only passive cognitive activities. So when you do something active, like reading a book or playing chess or reading a newspaper, you have to actually think and decipher and figure out what you're doing, especially if you're doing like puzzles, word searches, Sudoku, all those types of things. And that's exercise for your brain, so it helps maintain your mental acuity. When I work at like nursing homes or places where there's elderly people, sometimes I go to homes where there's a lot of like Koreans or Chinese, and a lot of them like to play games like Mahjong, Sudoku, all these other games that they play. And those people are very sharp, okay? When I go to some of the other nursing homes where the people are just kind of watching TV, I see they become more socially isolated. They're not socializing, they have more memory problems. And of course, remember, when you're not engaging your brain, it actually starts to shrink. When it shrinks, it starts to affect everything, not only your memory, it's gonna affect your vision, your balance, your hearing, your mental state, your depression, your anxiety, all that stuff is gonna be affected if you're engaging in activities that are not mentally challenging. Activity number 2, your social health. Activities you want to avoid. You want to avoid isolating yourself. Again, if you're watching a lot of TV and you're not going out there, you're going to become socially isolated. And all your risk for depression, suicide, anxiety, stress increases the more isolated you become. There's also a flip side to that. There's certain people that are not good for you. There's a flip side to that. There's also people that you do want to avoid. And although it might seem like it's another form of isolation, you want to try to grow your social network as much as you can, engage in social activities. You want to go to the Rotary Club, the Kiwanis, the Lions Club, become a Freemason. I'm a Freemason. I hang out with my brothers, join a basketball league, become a volunteer coach. If you have children, join all their programs, the PTA, volunteer with the Boy Scouts, their baseball team, their football team. As much as you can so you can make more friends and grow your social network. Now, as you grow your social network, there's gonna be people in your life that you want to not have there. The reason being is they might not have a positive impact on you. Sometimes you make friends or have acquaintances that have habits that are not good for you and you don't really need to be around. People that have issues with smoking, drinking, drugs. If you're trying to avoid those, then you probably shouldn't hang out with people that engage in those activities, if they gamble, if they're dishonest, if they don't have integrity. But aside from that, maybe they're just people that are generally negative. I have people that I know that every time I see them, I can expect to have a very negative conversation, unfortunately. As soon as I see them, they don't know. It's a learned behavior. Some people learn how to look at life on the positive side and some on the negative side. So they're always gonna see the glass half empty. And that's not something that you can always influence. So you wanna try to look for those people that look at life half full. Okay, some of these people, when I hang out with them, or even patients, I'll talk to them and their outlook on everything is very grim. It's a real downer, especially if I'm with a friend, I go to dinner or something, I'm kind of trapped for like a few hours. I'm thinking, oh man, what did I get myself into? They'll start from the top, they'll have a laundry list about the government, about, whatever, global warming or friends or just a negative outlook on all sorts of things, And sure, there are things that we need to be concerned on in life, and you do need to keep an eye on those, but on every situation, you want to try to look at the upside. That's going to help you become more optimistic. It's going to help you become more optimistic and help you develop a more generally positive outlook on life. Point number 3, your physical health. Now that's a big one because as we become more technologically advanced, we're blessed. We have all these things that do things for us. We don't have to walk anymore. We can ride an electric bike. We can drive a car. We can fly. I flew over here. It took me 32 hours to get here from LA. We're very blessed to have all these modern conveniences. The only issue is that sometimes it's too much. You need to learn to take a step back and say, hey, I need to do some of these things for myself. And I'm talking about the patients I see. I see thousands of people. I have friends, family, everybody, and I observe their behaviors and I see what the outcomes are clinically. So when I'm giving you these suggestions, I'm really thinking of all sorts of people in the back of my mind, and I'm remembering that, okay, this person lays on the couch all the time, so now they have obesity, they have diabetes, they have high blood pressure, they have depression. Remember, if you don't move, again, it's not stimulating for your brain will start to shrink. So physical activity is actually good for your mind also. Helps build up your strength in your mind. So they're not getting a lot of physical activity. What happens? Their life expectancy decreases. They have more health problems. They don't like the way they look sometimes. They start ending up with other issues. Whereas if they could just, so a few tips. Now, again, if you try to say, okay, I don't exercise, I'm gonna start going to the gym every day, an hour, maybe you're gonna crash and burn. So 2% rule, just start kind of easy, start adding things on. In terms of physical fitness, this is where people have a hard time. So let me give you some real easy strategies. Number one, try not to lay in bed. Lay in bed when you're gonna sleep. And when you're not gonna sleep, sit in a chair. Lying on your back, I have friends that lay down all day and watch TV, work or whatever, but they're laying down. It makes your muscles get weak, especially in your back. So then you end up with sciatic pain, you end up with balance problems, you end up with a lot of other physical ailments because you're not working. Remember, if you're not moving, your muscles, it's part of your neurological system, the way your body works. It's a defense mechanism. It'll start actually breaking down your muscle and making you like lighter because it's saying, oh, I'm not doing all this work. I don't need this extra muscle. You look at these huge camels back here, they're full of muscle. And all they're doing is walking all day. They need it. But if they were to start laying down all day, their bodies would get like, floppy and they wouldn't have any muscle. So you don't want that to happen to you. So stay out of bed. Try to sit up in chairs. And that goes for everybody, all age groups. Sit in chairs. Now, when you go to the market or you go to a store, you always see those people parked at the front of the parking lot, just wasting their time waiting for a parking space. Not good. You're self-defeating yourself. You're causing more global warming gases. When I go to the market, or you go to the market, or any kind of store, make it a point to go to the furthest part and park back there and then walk in. It's just, I do it. I don't even think about it. It just happens. When I go to a store, I just park at the back and walk. I don't have to fight with anybody for parking. I don't have to worry about anybody scratching my car, although I don't really care about my car. I have old cars. But it's just much simpler. It simplifies your life and it gives you an easy way to build in an extra 5-10 minutes of exercise a day. A few others are take the stairs, just like the mall. See the escalator, take the stairs. You see the elevator? If you see the elevator, take the stairs. I've actually read studies on it, and they say that if you're gonna go 6 floors or less, you'll actually get there faster taking the stairs versus taking the elevator. And I thought, how could that be possible? I've tried it multiple times, and it's true. I get there faster, and I get an extra leg workout, butt workout. Those little pieces all throughout the day are gonna make a big difference. Now, sometimes I get patients that say, Doc, I'm tired, I don't want to exercise, I work all day. I know a lot of people are stressed, a lot of people are working a lot of hours, but you have to make it part of your lifestyle. Otherwise, you're gonna get older, you're gonna have more health problems. Now, I have friends that say, yeah. Now, those same people also tell me, I work and I come home and I just wanna relax. I go, okay, so what are you doing? Well, I look at, social media, I watch Netflix. I go, well, there you go. It's more of this unproductive time. Now, think about the 2% rule. You wanna be in the 2%, not in the 98%. So are those habits gonna support your long-term success, physically, financially, and reach your life goals, everything else? It's not gonna get you there. So if you wanna be in the 2% in terms of health, wealth, fitness, all that kind of stuff, you gotta start adapting some of these little micro behaviors. Instead of coming home and lying down, say, okay, I'm off work, I'm gonna go for a walk. I'm gonna listen to some podcasts, get some information, learn something, right? Instead of laying down and doing something passive, if I'm listening to some podcasts, from a researcher or a Nobel laureate, something like that, that's gonna be a lot more productive. It's gonna help me improve my lifestyle. And then of course, gyms, Pilates, yoga, swimming, all that kind of stuff is awesome. You gotta make it fun for yourself. I have friends that say, oh, I can't go to the gym, it's so boring, And then I have other people that love it. And when I talk to patients, I say, okay, well, look for something you like. I like martial arts. I used to do a lot of martial arts, but I've had multiple injuries, and that's not really the best option for anymore. You gotta be flexible. I adapted. I swim now, and I really like swimming. I look forward to it. I like hiking. Look, I went hiking this morning. I'm in the middle of nowhere, in the Gobi Desert, and I got blessed. with these endangered Bactrian camels. So the more you do, remember, the early bird gets the worm, and the more work you do, the more rewards you're gonna get. And point number 4, your overall health. Think about the 2% rule. Think about what the easy things are that you're doing and how maybe you can make some of those things a little more challenging. Because whatever you do that's more challenging is always gonna be better for you, always. Okay, let me give you some examples. I'm out here in the desert and I'm sleeping in some they're like tents. Okay, they're called girt. And I'm with a few other people and they have heaters. I immediately turn my heater off and I'm sleeping in there with the locals, the family. It's cold, I'm really cold. I'm not used to this weather, but it stresses your body. And actually it's good for your body. It makes your body stronger, okay? So even at home, I don't use heaters, I don't use air conditioners. Why? Well, why would you want to use air conditioners if we have global warming? You want to get used to it, it's gonna get hot. So the less air conditioning you use, the more resistant your body becomes. It's physiological, it's science. It's just the way it is. People that go out and sleep in the yards, sleep in the streets, are actually stronger. Again, I'll go back to the example when we had COVID. In LA County, we thought, okay, all these 100,000 homeless people we have are gonna get wiped out. That couldn't be further from the truth. They were the best. They had the lowest mortality rates from COVID of anybody else. Why? Their bodies are tough. They eat out of the trash, they sleep on the floor. You know, they're in the cold, they're in the heat. I mean, they're awesome, they're durable. The guy that's my tour guide out here, 73 years old, totally mobile. I would think he's like in his 40s. He's a nomad. He just lives out here walking around all day and eating whatever, you know, he finds, and eating the camels and goats and all this other stuff. He has a simple lifestyle. He works hard. So that makes you stronger. Now, another thing I like to do is walking barefoot, especially for people that are in the city. As we mature, our balance decreases. And all people, all ages, you wear shoes, it's gonna make your feet weaker. That's just the way it works. We're not made for that. We're made to walk barefooted. Now, when you walk barefooted, your physical performance is gonna decline. That goes for all athletes, professional athletes, marathoners, everyone. So if you're regularly wearing shoes, try to make times where you walk barefoot in the yard, in the sand, in your house, whatever. And they say, well, Doc, why would that matter? I have these beautiful Nikes. I like Nikes, they're awesome. But look, think about it. If I were to wear gloves, which I probably should because it's freezing, how hard would it be to use my cell phone? It'd be pretty tough. So think about that with your feet. You want your feet to be more sensitive to the terrain when you're walking. Look at this rough terrain behind me. If my feet aren't real sensitive, my balance is not going to be as good. That's just the way it works. When you walk barefooted, they're more sensitive. Just like my fingers are to use a cell phone, when I walk without socks and shoes, my feet are stronger. They have more musculature. My balance is better. Now, another thing I hear from people is, oh, I have this job, I really like it. Oh, yeah, why do you like it? Oh, it's so easy. I think the first thing that comes to mind is, well, you should quit. You don't want jobs that are easy. If your job is easy, then you're easy to replace. You're gonna be without a job. Now, I could say my job is easy, but I had to study 15 years to do my job. So it wasn't exactly easy to get there. And that kind of gives me a moat, like a protection to, I guess, have some job security. But even still, I still look for jobs that are more challenging just because, you know, life is like exciting when you have variability. You don't want to do the same stuff all the time. That's boring. Now, what do people actually mean when they say easy? What do they mean? It's not mentally challenging. That's what they mean. If you don't have a mental challenge, then your mind is not going to grow. You're not going to get smarter. You're not going to live as long. If you're doing things that are monotonous and boring, then your whole life is going to be boring. So that's not what you want. You want to do things that are challenging. Another example is like traveling. You may not have money to fly to Mongolia or somewhere, but even if it's somewhere in your city, like to a museum or somewhere you've never been before. To tell you the truth, how I ended up on this trip, I woke up on Saturday morning, like at 5 in the morning. I was gonna get ready to exercise, and I was thinking, you know what? I want to get out of here, man. I don't feel like it. You know, you wake up some days, you just don't feel like, you know, you just want something different. I went online, I looked for a plane ticket, and I found a half-price ticket to Mongolia. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna buy it. And I said, can I go? Can I do it with work? Can I, you know, you start thinking of all these reasons why you probably can't. I said, no. I'm just gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it, and then I'll figure it out later. So I bought it, and I had about 2 hours to pack and, I don't know, sort things out before I left for about 2 weeks. I just put my clothes on and left. I actually don't have any other clothes. The only clothes I have, I went to the airport, I flew over here, and I had 32 hours to kind of work it out, right? At the lounges and at the airports. I was in Las Vegas and in South Korea. So when I was there, I looked up where to stay, some of the things to do, and like everything else in life, things just, the dust settles. You know, sometimes you have things that are unsettling, but there's always the end of the storm. And this is a good storm. This is something good. It's challenging. My brain is challenged because I'm in a new environment. I have to learn, I have to survive, I have to figure out how to get around in South Korea and in Mongolia, out here in the Gobi Desert, etc. So those are extreme examples, but do things that are difficult. Remember the 2% rule for travel, for health, for mental health, for physical health, for your diet, for your nutrition. You know, I'm a vegetarian. I see patients that are vegans, and you know, I ask them, why do you do that? They said, because it's better for me. You know, I personally love meats, chicken, beef, pork, all that. My dad was a butcher. I love meat. You can't deny that it tastes great. For me anyway, I really like it, but it's just not good for you. If it was good for me, I would eat it. It's not. It's not the healthiest option. So I take the more difficult option, and which is not that difficult at all actually, but I actually enjoy being a vegetarian. But I eat this food and I have this outcome, which is better health, more longevity, less risk of cancer, better cognition, all sorts of benefits. So think of it that way. When you're doing things, you say, oh, you know, that's hard. I don't want to do that. Well, wait a minute. Don't think about just it's hard. Think about what the benefits might be if you do that thing that's hard, and apply that to all aspects of your life. That's basically the 2% rule in a nutshell. So thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And from the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, this is Dr. Ernesto. Thank you and goodbye. So here's another group of camels, literally in the middle of nowhere, headed to the Gobi Desert. And we run into this group here. Unfortunately, it looks like somebody took ownership of these. They put like graffiti, see that? They put like these big letters on the side. But in the list of all the seal, BD. Das Bichos. And they're tall. You look like that. These guys all start with their arms to walk 8 feet high. These damn black groupies bikes that they made. 1 to 2,000 pounds, something in that range. Closer to 2,000 pound range. Because they bought in their backs. There's a line. Set a deer, but off in the distance. They're small, but there's several dozen over there. You can see. So I found a group of camels here. It's like 5 in the morning. And I was walking in the desert for a couple hours. Nobody around, there's a sunrise. And I ran into a group of camels and we're trying to make a YouTube video with them. Every bird gets to worm. That's the Gobi Desert behind us. This is a mama camel. Big one. There's some big ones over there. And here are the sand dunes, look at that. Big ones, look at that. This is the Gobi Desert here. Man, look at those humps on here. And this is all the sand dunes, this is the Gobi Desert. These guys are really majestic. There's a lot of them off in the distance, just less than so. And a lot of them are just hanging out here, walking to the sand dunes. A lot of stuff, guys. Jelly. Babe, it's up to you, Mosey. They're like so mellow. Hi. Double humped Bactrian camel. Endangered species from Mongolia. Look at his neck. His neck. Look at that. The humps. See you tomorrow. Bye, buddy. They're just all hanging out here.
Te, el beso cuello.